This is a song from a band that is so nostalgic for me. I really, really love their music and their mix of rock and kind of classical music. And it has changed throughout the years, and they've gone into a more electronic realm, and they've always been very interesting in how they use technology and sounds and morphing vocals and things like that. So I'm really interested to have a listen to this. I have listened to this song before, but it's been a very long time. And this reaction is in celebration, I suppose, of a song that I have just released. It has come out here on Spotify, on YouTube, and it is a song called Anxiety Society. So it is about my own dealings with anxiety, and this song kind of echoes that sentiment, so I wanted to take a look at it as well.
How's it going, Wembley? Oh, it's good to see you again.
I haven't heard this performance before. Okay, so a little known fact before we get into this song is that Matt Bellamy is the son of a guy called George Bellamy, who was a guitarist of a pop band called the Tornadoes, and they were the first ever British band to have a US #1 hit in the 60s. So that's really interesting. So distinct. Now he has a really interesting voice because of how he sings. He often sings in head voice, though not here. He does a lot of sliding. He morphs his vowels a lot. Instead of free, it wouldn't work with that because it makes it so narrow and pointed. If you're at E fray, he changed it to fray, and he takes a long time to get through the FR sound, fray, and also morphs and slides the note at the same time, so there's a lot of slidiness going on. It's very, very fluid over a very, very driving instrumentation, which makes this very, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just very emotive and sort of singing. It feels like someone kind of wailing in the best way possible over the driving of life, being driven by something else in life. I think that's often the feeling I get with his voice. So away is a really difficult vowel. Away. You don't want to go onto that E. Often what I say for people to make it a little bit closer to the word way is way, and make that E into a consonant at the end to make it really super short. He just avoids it. He morphs that E. He does it throughout all of his E's. Away. He just says away. And that's fine. We still understood what he said. Nice little ornament there. So here we go. Here's the classic head voice of Matt Bellamy. Often we, and some singers, like if you listen to, well, one of his major influences, Jeff Buckley, he sometimes does head voice, but often he'll mix that high and he'll have like this really full sounding tone. Whereas Matt Bellamy tends to flip, and it gives it this really kind of ethereal sound over the top. I think that this is something that people feel like they need to be able to mix really, really high all the time. And you can learn to mix, but everyone will have a kind of different range in which they can. For him, I don't know if it's that he hasn't wanted to, if it's a limitation of his voice. I think that the thing is, we have kind of two choices. You have the choice to go towards our natural voice and the things that we're really good at. So his head voice is really, really strong. He's obviously really lent into that, and we can lean into the things that we're good at, or we can have a look at some of the things that we're not so good at and try and fix them and have a kind of rounded voice. So if you look at someone like Jennifer Hudson, she can kind of do it all. She tries all these different styles, and she's definitely worked at the things that she's not so good at. Other artists will lean into things they're good at, and they don't need to do those things because they're still telling the story just as well. And it's completely up to you and what you love and what feels like the best storytelling to you. In this case, I feel like, you know, you are getting that emotional impact. He is doing his job. It doesn't matter if he's mixing it or he's doing it in head voice. What matters is that you feel that emotion. It's also really difficult. I don't want to make it sound like he's not doing something difficult. He's doing something blooming difficult. I'm pointing out that there will be different strategies to this sort of singing dependent on the singer. There's something that's really interesting. I found this video about this, and he does not get rid of his breaths, and often he breathes really loud, like he's gasping, and that also adds to the emotion. Think of the times where you're like yeah, I heard this track. It's on YouTube somewhere. Search like Matt Bellamy breaths, where they cut out the singing and just left the breaths in, and they're so noisy. They're almost like a percussive beat, and some people hate it. Some people hate hearing the breaths. I quite like it. I think that it makes it feel human. It makes it feel like reality. Here, it gives you that feeling of urgency, of being on the edge of emotion. Another thing that I want to point out is when I've heard the records and when I've heard them live, Matt Bellamy mixes it up sometimes, and actually in his mix, sometimes he uses more mix in the recordings, for example, and then when he does it live, it's really hard. He has to sing a massive set of really technically difficult playing and singing, and he saves himself throughout. He paces himself throughout the set. You don't have to do everything when you're singing live at once. I think that we feel like it has to be perfect, it has to be exactly like the record, and sometimes that's not it's just not possible. We might have this massive set of technical stuff, and we need to save our voice for the end. So be aware that you can create, as long as you're creating the same emotional feeling, you're giving the audience that story. Does it really matter if it's exactly the same? Personally, for me, I don't think so. I don't think so. I love that fast vibrato. Interesting. Okay, before we go, because we've got this little bass bit, it reminds me that the bassist here, Chris, is a beekeeper, and I love that. He is a beekeeper in his part-time, and even has his own honey brand, so go find that and buy his honey. As I say, a band, for me, really nostalgic, but they're so talented and so emotional, and I love how they dig into technology as well. I think that they're actually very topical today with the world that we're now facing. And it's kind of interesting to see that they had this relationship between our humanity and technology way before we've kind of realised how our own mental health, how our own mindsets have been affected by all new technology and how we use it. So they were very forward thinking. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do like and subscribe, and also I would love it if you could go check out my very own song, Anxiety Society. It's here on YouTube and on all streaming platforms. Alright, see you in the next one. Bye.